What's up guys, Elfis here, and today we're going to be doing another HoN replay analysis, this time of Takkun, or Takkun, or however you say your name, 1991. I probably just butchered that, but no biggie I guess. He's playing Glacius this game, by the way. It's a 1500 game. As usual, Taddy Jangles is joining us.
Hello again, sorry I may have to speak kind of quietly because I'm at my parents' house, I don't want to wake anyone up. Yeah, and it is midnight here. They're
busy having sex. Imagine. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead.
Why would you do that to me?
we're gonna go ahead and jump in. You ready, man?
Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so 1500 game. High 15s, mid 15s, some 16s in here. Oh, we got a fast pick, prisoner 945. Also, one thing I love the little voice they do for prisoner 945. The like prison overcall thing. The Legion team wins this. Spoiler alert. I guess you're supposed to say spoiler alert first, but whatever. Spoiler alert. Legion team does win this. This yellow player carries quite fantastically, if I do say so myself. Or at least his statistics make it look like he does. I guess we'll see in the game. Let's see. Who else? Okay, well they're both... The yellow plays rally, so this guy obviously does not play rally. Let's see, statistics. You play support this game. Do you play support usually? Not really. Okay, so no supports. Okay, so...
I might have a lot to say to you then if you don't regularly play support.
My professional support player here on staff is ready to comment. He always supports me when we play, but that's just because I'm such a fantastic carry. He has to support me or we don't win, so... That's the reasoning.
No, it's because you suck at supporting.
That's one way to look at it, alright? Okay. Alright, quickly, let's say teams. Legion team. Valkyrie, Moon Queen, Demented Shaman, Rally, Glacius. Hellborn team, Silhouette, Plague Rider, Malakin, Bushback, Prisoner 945. So, neither team
is much better.
What'd you say?
Legion team is much better. They have much better laning options.
Yeah, but it's still not really that good of a team. Neither team is really that great, composition-wise. Do we have... Well, I will say
Glacius,
Demented...
Glacius, Moon Queen short, and then Demented, Rally long, and Valkyrie mid. That's good lanes, in my opinion. If that's what they do.
They're sending Rally mid.
That's... Okay, and Glacius, Valkyrie. Okay. The lanes still work, they're just not ideal.
What the hell? Valkyrie's items. Too weird.
Oh.
Going for that.
Or
that oddly... I don't even... Okay, I don't know. Because, I mean, I can understand the two Pretenders crowns. They're gonna be... It's gonna be an Energizer, hopefully. But why wouldn't you just, like, get a Pretender's crown and a Duck Boots and then, like, you know, some more regen? I don't understand the logic.
Terms.
And he still has 140 that he didn't spend. I don't know. Logic.
It's not the most efficient use of stats, but maybe he just...
Yo, what the French toast is with these... Dude, what is with the shadows on my screen? I think I'm gonna have to turn shadows off. I don't know what the hell is going on. Okay, give me 1 sec. Shadows, where are they? I'm still playing the game, by the way. I didn't pause. So.
Yeah. So you're coming up toward the pull. That's nice. It's not going to be contested.
Shadows.
You should just place it.
You
should just place it. There's no reason to wait and wait and wait.
Oh no. No, my hand's like frozen because it's updating the shadows. That's okay. Alright, perfect.
That's that's a nicely placed ward as well. That gives you some nice vision. That's exactly where I would put it. So I'm happy with that ward.
Quickly, we commented on your lanes a bit. I do want to just briefly touch on the Hellborns. They don't have the best lanes at all, considering the fact that they have two incredibly hard carries, being Silhouette and Malakin. And then, well, not that neither of them are useless early on, you know, much like a... I don't know, like a Kronos is fairly useless early on until he hits his ultimate, but it kind of screws up their lanes. And then on top of that, they have Bushwhack as another carry, so it's debatably not the best. But
and Prisoner needs farm, and he's got Hatchet in the same lane as Silhouette.
Yeah, that's gonna work out very poorly, I imagine, but we'll see. Let's see. We started with a ward 1 ward. Nobody upgraded courier. Usually you start 2 wards. We've talked about it before in the past. Just so
D-Sham got the other ward, but D-Sham should have upgraded the courier, and you should have got both wards.
Alright, that's fine.
As I said before, if you're going long lane, it should be 2 wards, and short lane you get courier, generally speaking.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is because you have a Moon Queen on the team, as well as a Valkyrie, I guess, but primarily the Moon Queen, I imagine we're going to see at least 1, maybe 2 levels in your Chilling Presence early on. And if so, which I would think we will, but maybe not. If so, then the mana potions aren't really as necessary. Maybe it is debatable, but some people still like to get mana potions. I don't know. I think it depends on how many points you're going to put in Chilling Presence, you know, but it's not wrong. I guess you could have gotten more items, so it's okay.
I want to note something about his positioning a second ago. He was up by this shop, and the creep wave was coming past him.
Yeah.
And he ended up tanking some of the creep wave and taking a couple of water attacks. If you see that your creep's going to die and you're going to be tanking the creep wave soon, you want to start falling back before their creep wave kills your creep and therefore gets to you. So that's something to know about your positioning when you're playing support. You want to go up to harass, but as soon as you see that your creeps are dying and the creep wave is going to come to you, you want to fall back and give yourself plenty of time to do so.
600. Okay. So you guys all have equal range, the 3 ranged heroes in this lane, that is. What I will say is I would have actually...
I hope you call missing here because he's going to gank mid with that haste.
Oh, did we call missing? We'll see. Well, actually, we won't see. It looks like yellow's fairly far back. I don't know. He could still die, actually. Yeah, I don't know. It's
guy has
iffy.
haste. You could literally just go and kill him.
Yeah, what I will say, just a comment on the Prisoner945. I hate that hero. That ball and chain crap is like a Devourer hook that goes past creeps. It's literally almost the same exact skill, just goes past creeps.
And it's AoE.
Yeah, like I don't understand why that skill is not nerfed more. It makes no sense to me. It goes past creeps. It only has 100 range shorter, and it travels, if not faster, at least at the same speed as the hook. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. But
it's also a lower mana cost, I believe.
what does it cost mana wise? 140. I think it's about the same actually. I think that's the same.
100. It's 100.
Really? Okay.
Oh wait, hang on. No, 140. You're right. No, it's exactly the same. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Farm wise, Valkyrie versus Silhouette. Yeah, I kind of would have expected Silhouette to be doing a bit better than your Valkyrie. You're sitting here attacking creeps while your Valkyrie's trading hits with him. That's not okay. There's no reason to do that.
And yeah, I was actually going to say, if you are going to get mana boss, then at least use your mana to harass.
Yeah, I guess. Can you?
Especially you've got a level in chilling presence as well, so please use your mana to harass.
Yes. I usually. Oh, he doesn't have Glacial Blast yet. No, he does. I usually use Glacial Blast to harass rather than, Tundra Blast rather than Ice Imprisonment. Very nicely played by the two of you, by the way.
Because it hits 2 heroes.
Yeah, and on top of that, it costs less mana at lower levels, so also something to think about. I mean, when you get to the higher levels, it costs more, but okay.
You did give that health potion to Valkyrie, which is nice.
Very nicely done. The other thing is you could give Valkyrie a potion, mana potion. You have that second one, and your mana's about full. I mean, now it doesn't make as much sense because Silhouette's back, and you won't really be able to use it and farm, but next time, I guess.
Valkyrie's got good positioning in this lane. Look what he's doing with the trees and getting vision.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's really what you should be doing, standing there and doing that while Valkyrie farms creeps.
Yeah.
But if you just take note of what Valkyrie's doing there, standing down by those trees and harassing Silhouette, that is the exact sort of spot you want to be in when you're playing a support in this lane as Legion, and you want to get some harass out.
I will say
that's nice arrow. This is going to be a kill, I would think.
I'm a few seconds behind you, by the way, but we can fix that after. Oh no, one more. No, don't. You need to back off. Okay, nice job. You guys got him. Valkyrie is probably going to die though. Ice Imprisonment. Yeah, I'm not seeing. Oh no, why'd you leave? You should have kept fighting. You guys could have killed him. All of his. You could tell that his Q was on cooldown, so there was no reason.
You're probably gonna die too because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, nice tree grapple by Silhouette.
yeah.
If you hadn't left, you could see his spikes weren't around him, meaning his Q was on cool. Is it Q? Is that what the? Yeah, his Q was on cooldown, so there's no reason to run if he's not auto attacking you because he's not doing any damage to you.
He's chasing after Valk. You could have pumped in some more auto attacks, and if not killed him, you could have got him to get away from Valkyrie, and he might have been able to escape.
I'm fairly certain you guys could have killed him, but let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, is it Demented Shaman? Yeah, I guess Demented Shaman upgraded Courier. Nice job.
That's just a small misplay anyway, and it was more Silhouette playing well than you really misplaying to any real extent.
Yeah. Let's see, where are we going? We're going mid. Why are we going mid? Okay, that's an image. Never mind. Where's our rally? He's bottom, ganking bottom. Okay. Forward there, from there. Alright, so you guys, you have this one... Well, okay, so since you're support, let's talk about your supporting. So first of all, Courier's upgraded. It wasn't you, but that's fine. It doesn't matter who gets it, I guess. What I will say is that at the moment, the only ward the Legion team has is on bottom right here. And your top lane, your long lane needs a ward to farm. Always. I mean, there are rare cases when it's okay not to have one, and earlier on it's even more acceptable, but now we're getting to the point where mid is over 6, and even though Malakin's not the best ganker, you need to have a ward up here so that your Valkyrie can farm properly. Let's see.
This is poor time management, which is something we come back to repeatedly when we do replays. You were sitting in mid for a while. I mean, yes, you are trying to set up a gank here, but he misses his stun, and yeah, it's not successful. But
Are you kidding me right now?
sorry, I think I'm a bit ahead of you.
Yeah, no, I was Oh, sorry. Yeah, you are. What time are you at?
I'll pause, hang on. 11:02:03, paused.
Okay, go. Alright, okay, so we're going back to top, that's fine. Ooh, are we gonna get a kill here? Tundra Blast? No mana for Tundra Blast. One more auto? Is that going to be enough?
Nah.
Nice. Valkyrie's going to get it. Very good. Okay, so it really wouldn't matter who got it in that case, but, I mean, just in general, it's okay. Valkyrie needs to be very careful, though. One prisoner ball, and he's dead. Yeah, okay. Okay. That was very... I mean, I missed it just a little bit off screen, but it looked like you walked back in a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Rally coming up.
We don't have an ult? Yeah, we do have an ult. Sorry. Okay. Rally ult. We're going to compel an ult? No? Oh, we're waiting for the sword throw. Okay, that's fine. At that point, ult was unnecessary because he had 10 health left, but, you know, and you had a haste rune. Blah, 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 blah. I can't talk. Just so you know, Rally, totally unnecessary, okay? Okay, we got straight for Striders. I would have gone red boots and then vestments, but it's okay, I guess.
And it's power supply as well.
Yeah, power supply
got
too.
Red boots and power supply, then vestments, then Strouders. Strouders?
Strouders? The new boots you haven't heard about?
That's what we call them in England.
Yeah, so...
Strouders.
I don't know. I mean, if you're going to really roam a lot and use them fully efficiently, it's one thing, but... I don't know. It's weird choice, I guess. Okay, ice imprisonment him? Ice imprisonment somebody? Thank you. Okay. That's okay. That's alright. I would have ice imprisoned... Well, I guess I probably would have ice imprisoned Plague Rider because it's a guaranteed kill, but that's okay, I guess. It looks like you guys are still going to get him. Yeah. And you're going to get Plague. Nice, actually. That worked out very well. You tanking creeps. We're lucky that Malakin isn't paying attention because he could have come over and probably killed you. Well, he's coming, but I think it's too late now. Oh, are we going to see a pro status guess? Guess with this sword throw?
Nah.
That would have been awesome. It's always funny when they just guess and get lucky with these things.
You see, I would have guessed that anyway because he had full mana. He might as well have just tried.
Yeah, there's really not a huge reason not to. I don't know. It's debatable, but I think he could have. I think had he guessed it, he could have guessed fairly accurately. Let's see.
Yeah,
we have money. Okay, we're getting a TP, 2 wards. Awesome. So we're starting to do our job a bit. Let's see. Valkyrie going balls to the wall on top here. Jesus Christ. That's way too far.
Another thing I was in the middle of saying before we started commenting on some other stuff is the time management in mid was poor. You were standing just behind the tower in these trees. You were out of XP range. You were kind of waiting, and nothing was really going on. So you weren't getting XP, you weren't ganking, and then when you finally did come to gank, when you waited that whole time for rally to get back, the gank wasn't successful. So it was just poor time management. So that's something you really need to think about, especially as a support, because you will get underleveled just naturally from running around, warding and roaming. So you have to be really careful with your time management when you play support, and make sure that you're always doing something useful with your time.
I want to just note something. Right after Rally died in mid, Malakin was tanking a wave and tower in the mid tower, and his sword throw was on cooldown. You were within range to ice imprisonment him. What I would have done is probably imprison Tundra Blast and ult, since you had full mana. You probably would have killed him. But even if you didn't want to waste the ult, you should have at least, done some damage to him, prison, and then Tundra Blast if you don't want to waste the ult. I think you could have killed him, but even if you didn't want to use the ult.
To be honest, I'm not sure he could have killed him with that ult, because if Malakin's ult was off cooldown, which I think it was, it would have cancelled his ult immediately.
No, he used his he was in ultimate form. He used it to kill Rally, I think. But
no, he didn't.
Well, okay, fine then. Even if you didn't, fine. But the range on the fear isn't that big. But fine. Again, even if you don't want to use the ultimate, that's fine. Don't use the ultimate, but still do some damage to him. Make him go back to base so he can't farm. Very well played by the three of you right here. I like the ward placement, by the way. Some people don't notice, but if you put the ward a bit further up, it blocks the creep camp. Whereas if you put it down here, it doesn't. It still gives you rune sight either way. But if you're on the Legion team, obviously it's better to block the creep camp because you don't want them farming. So, but then I guess if you're playing at a higher tier, then it makes it obvious the ward is there. So I mean, it's debatable depending on if they're counter warding or not. But in this game, I say it's okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have a TP. Just okay. So let's talk about your leveling real quick. So your skill leveling. So we got 1 in Chilling Presence. I don't remember at what level, but I would imagine it was either 2 or 4. Probably 4 would be my guess. That's okay, I guess. We're leveling Tundra Blast first. That's also fine. I do want to just make a small note. You put 1 extra level in Ice Imprisonment, which kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's okay. I mean, if you want to max Ice Imprisonment, I personally think Tundra Blast is better, but even if you want to max Ice Imprisonment, that's okay, but putting 1 point in it only increases the stun duration by 0.5 seconds. That's not worth the point. So
yeah,
I agree. I mean, there are some heroes where you can kind of split up maxing, but this isn't one of them. You need to max one skill or max the other, and
it depends on your laning partner which one you would level. Generally speaking, Tundra Blast is better, but with some laning partners where you want more lockdown, keeping them in place, to say for example, you're laning with artillery. In order for him to get off his full LRM, you want to lock him in place for 3 seconds instead of 1.5.
And it also depends who you're laning against, because another thing to note, his stun isn't really a stun. It's an immobilize and disarm, so they can still use spells. So if you're laning against like a Hammer Storm or somebody that has a really key spell, it's not as useful as you would think it would be. So
also another situation where you would level Ice Imprisonment first is if you're against, for example, a Bubbles or a Hag or some Blink, because although you can use spells when you're immobilized, you cannot use mobility spells. It's the same as Ron Grasp or Keep a Root or anything like that.
Of course. Let's see. Okay, so we got an Amulet of the Exile. So at this point, that doesn't make sense. You really need vestments, like
nice presence of mind by Valkyrie to use that. To save you there. So well played, Valkyrie.
That was good by her. Malakin got a bottle. Well, I guess it's okay.
He was mid.
I know, but I don't know. That's just I wouldn't get a. Well, I guess it depends on who I'm up against, really, but it's okay.
Moon Queen got Ghost Marchers, which I don't agree with, but it's not the biggest deal in the world, really.
And Moon Queen's also pretty lucky that Malakin wasn't like, hey, why don't I sword throw into these trees? Maybe there's somebody hiding there, because she would have died pretty badly. Let's see.
But he had no reason to suspect that wouldn't.
You know what? In all honesty, suspecting that somebody might be on bottom still, maybe just hiding in the trees, isn't necessarily that far off of an okay guess. It's really not that big of a cost, especially when you have a bottle to regen the mana. I would have actually done it probably just as a guess. It really wouldn't hurt that much. Okay, Grave Locket and completed power
Prisoner
supply.
should be screwed here if they see him.
Where's Prisoner? Prisoner right here.
Yeah,
Rally?
he's screwed. He's,
Rally ult.
he's so screwed.
Oh, Rally! Oh no, Rally, why you do this?
Oh, that play goal is going to be huge.
Oh god, Rally. Why you do this? Did you see that? He missed his ult.
Yeah, I see that happen all the time. I miss ult sometimes as Rally. It's a little bit buggy at times.
I know, because when you click on the hero, it doesn't necessarily do
yeah,
it in that direction. It's like, I don't know, it's a weird skill, and the activation of it is weird as well. We better get this deny. Nice job, very nice job. You also might want to be careful, because she could probably kill you 1v1 right now, so just keep that in mind. Silhouette's one of those weird heroes that does a significant amount of damage because of her spells as well as because of her auto attacks, so it's really not a hero you like to 1v1 all that much, unless you have really high burst damage to kill her before she can get procs.
So you got a Grave Locket.
Yeah.
That's a decent item on Glacius, however, I wouldn't prioritise it over other items such as vestments and a strength bracer, for example. I mean, you might get it instead of a strength bracer on Glacius. It depends. If you're not really dying much, it's probably better to get the Grave Locket because you get much more stat efficiency out of it. But as Glacius, you're probably going to be dying a lot, so it's your call really on that. But I would have got the vestments.
Leap. Ultimate Valkyrie, ultimate. No, come on, Valkyrie. You make me sad. Okay, Valkyrie just going balls to the wall as usual. Oh, be very careful. These two will fuck you up. It was a good attempt at dodging that. It was a good attempt. The Moon Queen ult kind of got a bit lucky there. I'll give you that one, Moon Queen. It was really lucky, but that's okay. Nice, we landed around.
What you should have done just there is for a couple, you were going to die anyway. That's just a fact. You were going to die. You're not going to get away from Bushwhack. Like, it's just not going to happen. Not when he's got an Energizer and he's got his little dash thing. So what you should have done is when you're in between those other heroes, you should have just pressed R, and it would have got a decent amount of damage and slow off.
I was thinking that too.
It may have netted Moon Queen another kill. You're going to die anyway.
Well, I mean, what I will say is they ended up getting both of them anyways, so it wasn't a huge deal. But yeah, in a normal case, you should have thought about the situation and think, well, maybe they won't get these if I don't do it. And really, it's okay.
It wasn't really a misplay. It's just an extra thing you could have done. To be honest, you played that as almost as well as you possibly could. You got your abilities off, and you did your best at getting out. So I can't really fault you there.
Yeah.
This is a wave. Don't. Dive.
Okay, so now I'm so confused. Are you just not going to get vestments? Do you think that's not a necessary item this game? Any time they have one hero that does magic damage, a significant amount, of course, that's enough to get vestments, okay? First of all, Plague Rider is entirely magic damage. That Plague ult, too strong, and it's magic damage, okay?
All of Silhouette's burst, apart from a little auto attack burst, is also magic damage. Malikan's ult is magic damage.
Split up. Don't stay together, split. Okay, well, there wasn't really much splitting up you could do. I'll give it to you. No unbreakable use, not necessary, I guess, to manage Shaman. Okay, that's cool. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so the ring mail, I don't know what that's gonna be. I guess maybe like a shield to the 5 into a thingy that I can't think of right now. But you guys know what I'm talking about. What's that build into? That's kind of bothering me, actually.
A Sackstone.
Sackstone, that's what it is. Sackstone, that's what you're thinking. That was what I was thinking of. Okay, so that's not a terrible item, but first of all, you want more supporty items. Second of all, you absolutely need Mystic Vestments in this game. I'll tell you what, you know what? Just in general, in almost every game, because there are some rare cases where it doesn't come up, but almost every game on a support hero, Mystic Vestments are a good item, okay? There are rare cases where you're against a team that does barely any magic damage, but this isn't one of them.
Yeah, it's just, even if it's just for Plague Riders, it's worth getting, because I mean, obviously Bushwhack's all physical, Prisoner's all physical, and Malakan and Silhouette's auto attacks will do a lot of physical, which means Sackstone is a good pickup, but you need vestments anyway, just for that little bit of survivability from the Plague ult, and just little things like Silhouette's Q and W, and Plague Rider's Q and Malakin's sword throw, if I'm not mistaken, is magic damage. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So it's just a few little things and one big thing. Plague Rider roll. It's worth getting investments. And yes, I do agree that in this game against that much physical, Sackstone is an ideal item, especially on an intelligence support hero, because it gives you a lot of EHP, especially against physical damage.
I just want to say something real quick. So in this particular game, because I'm the spectator, I can see that there's a Rev Ward here, so it would have been stupid to place a ward on this cliff here, like where you did before, but you can't, and you have 2 wards and no sight up here, so it probably, for your vision, it would be a good idea to place a ward on either this cliff right here or somewhere on this cliff. Pretty much anywhere is fine, but that's fine. Or even up here is okay, I guess.
It's a shame I can't really show on my screen, so I'm just going to try and describe to you a good player from ward, which gives you a little bit of vision for people coming into your ancients, and it gives you vision of the rune. Is if you were to go directly down from the fire ogre on the right, like,
oh, he's talking about this one right here. I got you.
There's a little lump that comes out, and it gives you a nice little bit of vision over people coming into your ancients, and it also gives you rune sight. And it's hard to counter ward because no one really thinks to counter ward for a ward that's there.
And on a side note, if anybody plays Mid Wars, I'm pretty sure that lump is there in Mid Wars, even though they changed the map a bit. So I don't know if you like wards on Mid Wars. There you go. Just a little side note. We did get the Shield of the 5, like I was suspecting. That's okay. We're pushing bottom. Okay, so we're starting to get a little bit under-leveled. Not immensely, but we're the lowest level in the game. I'm speaking from Glacius' point of view, of course.
Yeah.
That's kind of going to start catching up to you if you're not careful. It's one thing to be lower level than your team. It's another thing to be, 5 levels below their top level. That's really going to start hurting you when it gets to team fights and, fighting and things like that. And it's going to be exponential if you don't kind of...
And it is poor time management, because you haven't been spending your entire time stacking and warding and doing things. You've spent a lot of time not really doing an awful lot. So it comes once again back to time management.
And I will also say that stacking ancients and taking experience from triple stacked ancients, even if you're splitting it, let's say 3 people as opposed to 2 people, that is a lot of experience that a support player gets, especially when you assume that the support player is usually a lower level, so it's a bigger impact on that hero as well.
We've mentioned this before as well, but you can take yellow camps. You can stack and take yellow camps as support. No one's going to miss them, and it's a nice little extra bit of gold for you.
Yeah. You double stack these yellow camps, that's fine. It looks like you're waiting around to triple stack them. I hope we're going to triple stack this, or double stack now, I guess, this camp instead. Okay, it looks like that we are going to. Good job. But yeah, take the yellow camp. Your Tundra Blast, especially since you've been leveling it, it's not going to kill them. I don't think. You'll need to put in some auto attacks as well, but it's not that hard to, kill them, even as a support. Rally, stacking those for you. Cool. You should go take them. Triple stacked, he doesn't need them. That's, triple stacked yellows is like 200 gold or something like that, if that. It's not a huge difference if Rally or Moon Queen or whoever doesn't get them. But for you, as a support player, it's a very big impact to get that extra 200 gold. It also doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to... Oh, did Rally? No, okay. I guess you didn't want Rally to use his haste rune or something. I was going to say it doesn't make a lot of sense to take that rune when your Rally is so close by, but I guess he's got haste, but I don't know, it's still kind of odd.
Rally just used his ult to farm a triple stacked yellow camp.
Okay, yeah, the yellow camp too strong.
That actually just happened.
That yellow camp. What's the cooldown on this? Is it long? Yeah, 70 seconds. That's long enough to not use it on yellows. Jesus Christ. I could understand like ancients maybe, triple stacked ancients, but come on. Also, Moon Queen, you should be stacking these ancients instead of killing them. You killed them at 50. That's not cool. Just stack them. See, it's the same thing again. You're doing it again. You're kind of just sitting around this area, walking back and forth a bit, not really getting any experience, because you're not in range of anything that's being killed, really. Now, I mean, obviously, you got a little bit of experience off that wave, and I think you might have gotten some off the wave before, but it's not enough. Let's see, I bet you're the lowest, right? 177. Yeah, you're even lower than their Plague Rider. That's not a lot of experience per minute. The other thing is, team fighting. Okay. We got a Moon Queen ultimate. It wasn't bad. One of them got on the one creep that was left, but that's fine. Good ultimate by Moon Queen. Nice kill. We got Plague Rider and Prisoner. This should be a free tower, an absolutely free tower.
I'm sorry, did you just say good ultimate by Moon Queen? She pressed R. That's
yeah, but you have to choose when to use it and when not to. It was a... Okay, you know what? Fine. Let's not give him any credit then. Nice job pressing R, Moon Queen. You're the worst player ever. Stun him. Oh, your stun's on cooldown. Ult. I haven't seen you use your ultimate once this game, Glacius. There you go. Thank you. That was way late. You could have used it with, you know, just on... Don't be afraid to use it on 1 hero, 2 hero. That's awesome. It doesn't matter. What's the cooldown? Yeah, it's not a crazy long cooldown that it's not worth using on 1 hero or 2 heroes, okay?
It's a reasonably long cooldown, but at the same time, it's something that you don't get an opportunity to use to its full extent most of the time because you will die to it easily. So if you're ganking someone and you want to kill them, or in the team fight, if there's only a couple of heroes left, just do it.
And what I will say is, fortunately enough for you, it kind of worked out oddly, but they only have, let's see, 2 skills, well, 3, I guess, that could stop your, well, I guess Prisoner's got his ultimate too, but, you know, 4 skills that could stop your ultimate, you know? They have Malakin's Fear, which he had already used in that fight. He already activated his ultimate. They have Silhouette's Grapple, and then they have Prisoner's Grab, which I assume does cancel since it's a movement thing, and then his ultimate. Yeah. That's it. That's a lot of nothing.
Also Plague Riders. Oh, if he uses it on you.
Oh yeah, it's a mini stun. That's right. It is a mini stun. True. Okay, so 5 skills technically. Okay, 5 skills that can stop your ultimate. But the key thing to note is that that's only spread out between 3 heroes. So Bushwhack and 4 heroes, I guess. So Bushwhack alone can't stop your ultimate at all. And then on top of that, in that fight, Malakin couldn't either because he had already used his ultimate. So as long as you know you're not going to get cancelled, it's really not that big of a deal, even if you use it on 1 or 2 heroes. It's really, it's so much damage. It's crazy how much damage that ultimate does. It's not even funny.
Yeah. Just a general note about positioning on all supports. We do say this quite a lot, but in team fights, where you want to be as a support is at the back. Basically, the way it should be is you should have your tanky initiator bloke, Rally in this case, should be at the front with your carry or carries just quite a long way behind them, and then the support or supports pretty much just behind the carries, like literally just behind them.
Oh god, that was way too far up from you. Holy crap.
Yeah, there you go. Horrible positioning.
You should never, ever, 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 ever be the farthest one towards their base out of your whole team. Ever. What I will say is that it's a good thing that it was you rather than your Moon Queen, but, I mean, neither of you should have been in a range that should have, you know, been killable. And now, we're going to see a free Kongor. Oh, no. Sad base. Okay, so free Kongor for 2 reasons. One, because you guys were out of position and just got killed, but then on top of that, we don't have any sight that shows them in the Kongor pit. And this site actually doesn't even show, it shows like maybe halfway in towards the river here, something along those lines.
I'm just going to do a quick one here. I hate Valkyrie's items, I hate Moon Queen's items, and I love DS's items.
I can't... Why don't people listen to me? Thunderclaw is a terrible item, okay? Thunderclaw and Charged Hammer in general are terrible items, okay? I'm gonna make like a whole video dedicated to why they're terrible items since nobody wants to listen to that. I can't tell you how
I disagree with you.
Well,
I think that they do give you a lot of DPS on heroes such as Valkyrie, who doesn't have a farming mechanism. Thunderclaw, if you can get it early, is definitely a viable item, and as your very last item, you can upgrade to Charged Hammer, and Charged Hammer is a good item for ranged carries as a very final item. Like your last item slot, it gives you a nice bit of DPS, and it's also good when you have certain heroes on your team and certain heroes on the enemy team. It's more situational, it's not always bad, but generally, you're right, it's not something that you would commonly pick up. Savage Mace on Moon Queen,
could be worse.
Yeah, it's alright, could be worse, but
Wingbow
you want it as a
really
last
nice.
item. Yeah, Geos, man.
I mean, well, yeah, or Geos. I would say Wingbow only because the only one who would really get a Savage Mace on the enemy team is Silhouette, and debatably maybe Bushwhack at some point, but certainly not anytime early. And Silhouette isn't really farming all that phenomenally that you really need to be worried about her getting that anytime soon. So I love that item on a lot of agility heroes. The problem is that you can't pick it up when the enemy has a Savage Mace. It's just like worthless at that point, really. Very nice. Well, I guess, you know what? This is an okay ward. Blocking their Ancients is fine. What I will say is that you probably were better off, and I know you couldn't see them, so I'm glad you didn't just walk in. But you're probably better off waiting till you can see them on the maps and getting the ward somewhere up here so that it gives you more than just the creep block. But it's not terrible either. That's okay.
Also, if you're gonna block Ancients, the best place to put it is at the very top right of where it will block, because that's the least likely place they're going to counter ward.
He's referring to like somewhere up here, just about, give or take, because usually they would place the counter ward like here, so it not only counters, you know, somewhere around here, so it not only counters the Ancients, but then on top of that it would counter this ward over here too, if there is one. But yeah, it's fairly unlikely, and actually in some competitive games you'll see people like put a ward like up here somewhere just so they know it doesn't get countered, and then they can still see when they're coming to do the Ancients, somewhere around there. But that's not really relevant for, you know, 1600s, 1500s. Because I mean, people do counter ward. It's
just do it anyway. There's no reason not to do it. It's always good advice, even if it's unlikely that in this bracket they're going to counter it.
That's true, but the reason that they put it up here, it gives you less sight. I know you can't see where I'm talking about, but it gives them less sight up here. But it guarantees no counter ward. If you're not worried about them counter warding, then you're much better putting it like here or, you know, up here or something like that. But I know you can't see, so. See, now we're really starting to get into the area of, this is really bad, dude. Now we're only level 9. Their highest is 15, which isn't crazy. But that's also because they're not really leveling all that well either. What are we looking at? Well, Malikan and Silhouette aren't doing terrible, I guess. But, you know, relatively speaking, they're not really doing all that great. But, I mean, 170, we haven't changed our XPM since, you know, 5 minutes ago when I checked. That's starting to be a big deal now. Okay, so we did get vestments. We just decided to delay them as long as possible, I guess. I'm very
What you were
confused.
trying to do there was tank the creeps in front of the tower so it didn't go into tower range. That doesn't matter about the lane pushing at this point, dude. It really, really doesn't. So there's no reason for you to lose half your HP to do that, and you didn't even successfully tank all of them.
Oh god, no.
So nice job TPing in.
You know what, actually, if you had Tundra Blasted, and I know Tundra Blast was coming off cooldown there. Actually, you know what? I don't know. You probably wouldn't have been able to come help at all. I don't know. Rally kind of overextended. I'm aware this was an image, by the way. It took me a second to figure it out. I was like, no. But then I was like, why isn't he using these skills? Oh, it's an image. If you had gone up, you might have been able to help Rally out a bit, but I think Rally just overextended. The other thing is you teleported from up here when the fight was working its way towards your Ancients. Like, I mean, I don't want to say it was a huge waste of your teleport, but it was kind of a huge waste of your teleport at that point. I mean, like I don't want to say that was stupid, but I don't know, it was kind of stupid. I don't know what to tell you, man. There's no reason to teleport when you're really almost the same exact distance
Moon Queen's
away.
getting a... just to let you know, dude, Moon Queen's getting a Thunderclaw.
How do you know? That's just, all you see is the... Oh, did he buy something else and it's in the...
Yeah, he got a Warhammer, and he's got Gloves of the Swift. There's nothing else he's building with those.
Of course he is.
2 items.
Of course he is. You know what? Let's... Thunderclaws for everybody. Who cares anymore? Everybody get a Thunderclaw.
Okay, it certainly is a bad item on Moon Queen. She's got more than enough farming ability. She doesn't need it. It doesn't give her that much DPS. You're better off with agility items on Moon Queen.
So... Oh, okay, so we get a Savage Mace... Or, sorry, not a Savage Mace, a Shield Breaker on Valkyrie. I kind of like that. I kind of like Shield Breaker. Only because we have a Glacius Rally, which is already a lot of crowd control, so you don't need the Frostburn for the crowd control. So
I
you
prefer
can
Shield Breaker on Valkyrie to Frostburn anyway, because she needs the damage.
Well, the problem is I prefer Shield Breaker to Frostburn on a lot of heroes, but the problem is in pubs, a lot of the time you can't get it because you need the crowd control rather than your team. You know, they're like, oh, I'm going Chronos. We don't need stuns in the team. Whatever, man. That's just how it works. Okay, we got the Sackstone, and again, I don't totally understand why we delayed Mystic Vestments that much, but then we decided to get it. I imagine what was happening... Actually, you know what? Well, I don't know, maybe. I imagine what was happening is that you were dying too much, and you're like, I need Mystic Vestments, I need them. Which is fine, I guess. We have more wards, that's very nice. We don't have any sight on Kongor right now, which is okay at the moment, because Kongor's dead, obviously, but... Keep in mind that as soon as Kongor respawns, and you should probably do it a bit before, just so you don't run into anybody accidentally. But when Kongor's up, we need sight on him. At 35 minutes, that's long enough that you need sight on him, and especially when they've already killed him, so you know they can kill Kongor now.
Just a quick thing on your leveling. Instead of maxing out Ice Imprisonment, you put a second point in Chilling Presence.
I'm kind of confused. I don't...
That's weird. It's to be honest, it's not like a huge, horrible thing, but it's weird, and don't do it.
Well, let me tell you what you'll see. So it's okay to get 2 points in your Glacial Presence, but you get them early so that they can use them in the lane. That's the point of it. And you would really only get it if you have lane partners or teammates that really rely on, that have a lot of mana issues, and they need to get that mana up so that they can harass and win their lane effectively. But at this point, it doesn't make any sense, because we're 35 minutes in. Somebody, if they need mana, they would have mana regen at this point probably. So it's kind of odd, but I guess it could have been worse. Whoa, mama, what are we doing?
Hang on, can we just sync up again, man? Awesome.
Yeah, right after this fight. One sec. Okay, holy crap. So, first of all, we're initiating a 4v4, which isn't terrible, but we're initiating a 4v4 on their terms, and by on their terms, I mean... Okay, alright, well, Bushwhack is out of position, that's nice. But on their terms, I mean, like, on their side of the map, kind of where they want to fight. We didn't really get to pick the fight. And actually, that worked out much better than I thought it was going to. I was really planning on that working out much worse, but yeah, let's sync up. I'm at 40-18. I'm paused.
40-18. Okay, let me just catch up to you then.
Go for it.
12, 13, 14. Go.
Okay. Malakin coming in. This is probably not the best choice by Malakin. I don't know. It could work out, but it's kind of stupid. Yeah, and it doesn't look like it. I mean, Moon Queen for Malakin. It's not a terrible trade, I guess, but I don't know. Kind of not the best choice by him, considering he has no damage. But I don't know. It could be worse, I guess. Incoming Malakin. your Rally's a bit of a troll here. I love Rally's items, actually. I really like his items.
I personally wouldn't get a Frostburn, but it's fine.
I like it, but we can talk about it again.
I don't know. I don't know what it is with me. I hate people that get agility items on strength heroes. I don't know why. It's just one of pet peeve.
Okay, what do we have? Gold. 400 more. It looks like the game is about to end, and looking at the timer, they're probably going to concede here in the upcoming minutes, would be my guess. That's a nice job. You guys got the tower and noticed that 4 of them are up and backed out. Good job. Actually, Blue got a Rax down on bottom. That Thunderclaw paying off. And he dies to, was that Prisoner? Yeah, it must have been Prisoner.
And he's upgraded to Charged as well.
Of course he has. And that Thunderclaw on Moon Queen, we got that completed. Okay. Where are we? We're down here. Alright, we got a tablet. Nice.
Now, Rally can be at the front and permanently have the Charged buff on him, so that... Yeah. I'm trying to justify it, man. Just give me a break.
Oh god. Okay, well, we got a tablet. I like tablet. And actually, it always kind of makes me laugh when we have tablet and Rally, because you never know when it's off cooldown or on cooldown, and it's just weird to play against somebody who's Rally and has a tablet on his team, and it's
2
annoying.
tablets.
2 tablets? Oh, we have 2 tablets now. Now we'll never know for sure. That's the goal of this. Oh, 2 tablets and an eye. Okay. We got an eye now. So that's a good pickup by Demanded, actually, because you guys are kind of far ahead. That's a nice pickup. I will say that we have no sight on Kongor again, so I mentioned this before. They probably couldn't do it quick enough that you guys wouldn't really be able to notice, I don't think, at least. But, I mean, still, you should have sight. I would probably put the ward right about here at this point. Or the other thing you can do is you can put it like right here, and it doesn't show you in the pit, but it shows you just outside the pit, so you can see them, what was that? Is it K or something like that? Yeah, you can see, like, outside, just around the ear, something like that. Just my thoughts, though. We do have some wards. Okay, so we're going to place wards, and it looks like we are going to get sight on Kongor. I like that. I also like how we're not just running out solo YOLO.
You got me drawing boxes again now, man.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Yep. There we go. Nice. Now it's much more fortunate because we have Demented Shaman with an eye. Yay. Nice. Cool. Yeah, this is okay for sight on Kongor Pit. It's not terrible.
Just as a general thing, counter ward before you place wards, so they don't know where your wards are.
Well,
it doesn't really matter at this point, and when you have an eye, it doesn't really matter. But just as a general thing, just thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah.
Counter ward and then place a ward afterwards, because then they don't know where you warded. They can't really guess where you warded from your positioning. Yeah, they can't see you.
The only thing I will say is on this cliff, they wouldn't have been able to see it without putting a ward there anyways, so I can understand.
Well, they're tablets.
Okay, yeah, you're right. If they spent the time to angle the tablet correctly and then use the tablet to get up there, they're like, okay, we got it now. But that's a lot.
I would have done.
I don't know. It's a bit more work than necessary when they could have just thrown a ward up there and countered it. I agree with you, but you should counter before you ward. But in this case, because of the eye and all that, I don't really mind either way. Random Valk arrow, too strong.
These items on your team are so weird. Apart from the Demented Shaman and Rallier, I'm liking their items.
Valkyrie don't need no stats. Oh, Valkyrie, what was that about?
She don't need no stats.
She don't need no stats, and on top of that, she walked around a bit before leaping. She didn't try and leap, and then she got stun locked, and it was worthless. Also, Rally, you should probably sit back and focus on the heroes that actually you can get, as opposed to kind of base diving like a boss. You're like, whatever, I don't need no team. I got this. But I don't know, it's kind of odd.
This is relevant to you. This is relevant to people that I see playing carry all the time. What I see carry players doing all the time is they will constantly try to chase down the squishier heroes instead of focusing who they're supposed to be focusing.
Well, what I will say is focusing Silhouette's fine, but if Silhouette's running away with one hit left and you're not going to catch her, don't bother. Like, just change to one of their other carries or one of the other people.
What I mean is not chasing down and focusing Silhouette. What I mean is, like, for example, a carry will get tunnel vision so that they're so far away from their team that their entire team's getting wiped out by theirs because they're tunnel visioning on one or two heroes and trying to kill them.
So, a quick summary for you, Glacius. There were a couple things I noticed that were kind of major things. First of all, you weren't really warding as much as I would have liked you to, but it wasn't a huge deal. You did have a fair amount of sight up, so it's not totally a huge deal. The other thing is your ward locations. Every now and then, like the one at your Ancients, had you put it in the location he being Tatty Jankles was suggesting, up that little thing sticking out on the edge, it would have been slightly better. It's not a huge deal either way. The other thing,
just minor improvements.
Just minor improvements. Good. The only real major thing that I noticed with you was your ultimate. You were very, very, very passive when it came to using your ultimate. I mean, I guess because you thought it had a long cooldown, so you shouldn't really use it on that. As long as it's going to be useful, it doesn't really make a difference about the cooldown if you're going to use it effectively. You don't need to wait for 4 heroes to group up. It's not like a Tempest ultimate where you have to get that many heroes or something, you know what I mean? It's even if you use it on 1 or even 2 heroes, as long as it's worth it, you know? And I mean, I'm not saying, if Plague Rider's alone and you got 4 members, I'm not saying ult him, but, I mean, if it's going to be worth the use of the ultimate, use it. And the worth of the use of the ultimate is kind of a bit up to judgment. You kind of just need to, get to the point where you feel comfortable judging whether it's worth it to use the ultimate for this, or if you should save it and not, quote-unquote, waste it. But, I mean, it's hard to tell you if it's going to be worth it or not. You kind of just need to get used to it. The only real other thing, your items was a bit odd, but we'll talk about it when we get to your items. And then your skill leveling. We mentioned it at least twice throughout the game. Your skill leveling was a bit weird. You always, on pretty much any hero, there are a few cases where you don't, but for the most part, you max one skill first on almost all heroes.
Glacius is one of those heroes where it's not actually a really big deal. You can level his skills in pretty much any order as long as you don't max Chilling Presence first, and even then that's not awful. But it's one of those heroes you can get away with doing weird things, but generally speaking, Tundra Blast first, Tundra Blast or Icy Imprisonment, depending on your laning partner and who you're laning against. You can take 1 level in Chilling Presence if you're playing a more It depends. If, for example, if you really need the extra damage from your skills to be able to contest the lane, if you're having more of a hard time, or you're going for maximum kills all the time, then just skip Chilling Presence and just Fairy Mana if you need it. One level in Chilling Presence at level 4 is often good, just generally for your team, especially if you've got mana-intensive heroes on your team.
What I like to do when it comes to Chilling Presence is it depends on the laning, but if you have a hero that can almost guarantee kills is with mana, and I'll give you a couple examples. The two biggest examples would be Armadon and Arachna. Those two heroes, if they have the mana, and of course you do smart things and make smart choices, and do use your skills correctly, especially Armadon, you can pretty much guarantee kills at level like 1 or 2, just from being you. Armadon, I can't tell you how many times he can just literally walk up, snot somebody, and all that negative armor is just like a free kill at like level 1 or 2. And a hero like Armadon with more mana regen, especially because he's a bit gimpy when it comes to mana regen, that's a very good thing. So I would, even if I was laning with an Armadon who I don't need to level my skills to do the damage, I would, babysit him in the sense that he needs more mana. I would probably put 2 points in, but I would stop at 2. I would probably then level my Tundra Blast or Ice Imprisonment, depending on who I'm up against. But he needs the mana more than he needs my extra 60 damage or whatever it is from the level up of my Tundra Blast, So it comes down to a bit to judgment again, but it comes mostly down to who your heroes are on your team and who the enemy heroes are too. So,
having said that, just generally speaking, for other supports, for example, Aluna, you always make power throw first with no exceptions ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it depends on the hero. One thing before we go on to doing all the items and everything like that. One thing I did want to mention, which Elfis missed there, is. We did mention it in the game, your team fight positioning as a support. I just want to reiterate this, and in fact, I think hopefully I can convince Elvis to give me a bit of his time, and I'll make a support video and we can watch a replay of that, and I'll do that because we do get a lot of people that play support submitting replays, and we can just refer them to that instead, because we do often end up repeating ourselves. But positioning is a big one, and if you're... I just want to reiterate what I said in the game. Just stay right at the back, close enough to your carry to help them, but behind them, so that you're literally the third line. So you're hardest to get jumped because you're the squishiest. And literally all you need to do is, when the team fight starts, come in and use your abilities, and you've done your job. And you can try your best to stay alive, but the main thing is use your abilities, get them all on cooldown, so you've put them out there in the fight, you've done your damage, and then do everything in your power to keep the carry alive.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the one thing that people a lot of the time they'll say is that, oh no, but if I'm so far back, I'm not even helping. Well, you're not helping if you're up dying. If they initiate on you and kill you in 2 seconds, you're useless. Nobody cares. Even if you cost them, let's say, even if they used, a freaking, I don't know, let's say Malakin ultimate on you, fine, but I mean, like, you're dead. So an ultimate on the enemy team for a hero is usually not a good trade. Every now and then, depending on the ultimate, it can be beneficial, but you need to stay alive, especially as supports. You have to get your skills off to do your job.
And people don't... And just as Glacius, I'll just give you an example. Even late game, as Glacius, if you stay at the back and use a massive radius on your Q and you hit, say, 3 or 4 heroes, that's 4.5 seconds of minus 30% movement speed and minus 20 attack speed. That is huge, even in late game. But the damage in late game is small, but it is still damage. But just even if you only get your Q off on a few heroes, even in the late game, that gives your team a huge advantage in a fight.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of it comes down to judgment. What I will say is that positioning is actually, that's like one of the few things in Heroes of New Earth that is like a law. Like, I can literally tell you, I mean, and he already did, you have to stay like the third line back. Like, that's one of those things where you can tell you this is what you do in almost every case. It's one of the few things that there is. Most things are a bit judgmental and game by game. So that's something you kind of need to learn. So if you're going to play support, it changes a bit depending on what role you're playing, obviously. But when it comes to support, for the most part, almost every support is the same. There may be 1 or 2 that are slightly different, but that's that. Let's see. So briefly, it was a 42-minute game. I do want to. I'll talk about it while we're doing the creep kills. But Your time management was pretty iffy, man. We talked about it twice, I think. There was a fair amount of time you were kind of wasting, not getting experience, and more importantly, not doing anything, not getting, experience golds, and not helping your team really.
Not counter warding or
yeah,
warding.
Not really doing anything.
Or
not stacking camps. Yeah, exactly, stacking. And I mean, you can clearly see that in your EXP per minute, but mostly in your creep score here. 23, that's pretty low, even for a support at 42 minutes. I mean, look at Demented Shaman. He has a more reasonable time, 75, I wasn't paying attention. He was probably wasting some time here and there, too. But, I mean, even if he wasn't, okay, 75 at 42 minutes for a support, that's decent. It's not amazing, but that's an okay amount to have.
That's good, to be honest. That's less than I would have. Having a low creep score as a support, it really depends on several factors. It depends on how many heroes you have on your team that need farm more than you. Because if I'm playing, for example, if I'm playing 5-log with my clan and I'm playing hard support, I'll finish a 50-minute game with 30 creep kills, and that's acceptable because I'm always moving out of the way of other people that can come to the lane and take the creeps, or come to the jungle and take the creeps, and any creep kills I get are literally in the time between something happening and me being between where I am and where I need to go, and my ally getting to where I am to farm the creeps, and you just get one or two in there. But generally in pubs you have more time where you have the opportunity to farm creeps and no one else is farming them, and you don't have to move.
I would say
so you should have a higher creep score in pubs as a support.
I'll give you, this is kind of a general thing, and it doesn't necessarily apply every game, but I'll say for a carry, as I usually say, it's something like 50 every 10 minutes. For a support, I'd say something like 50 every 30 minutes is probably a reasonable amount of creep score to have near the end of a game. I mean, once you get past the first 30 minutes, it kind of goes down from there. You can even get even less than that, but I mean, in a 45-minute game, give or take, somewhere around 75, even a bit lower than that, somewhere between 50 and 75 is usually an acceptable creep score to have. Even a bit below 50 can be acceptable, but 23 is kind of iffy. And actually, what I will say is the 23, what he was saying, in a coordinated team, they were, when he plays, they're all, they're utilizing all the farm available, though, so there's literally none for him. In this game, there was times where you could be farming, the yellow camp or something, and you just weren't, is the point we're trying to make, I think. So it's his scenario is a bit differently in that case. Also, 1 deny is fairly low. I mean Valkyrie had 13, so she was doing a decent job, but just in general, it's not really that good.
Just if you want to go over everyone's creep scores and denies, I'm going to go and make a bowl of cereal and I'll come back for items.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, so creep score. Let's go through it real quick, and this will briefly cover GPM as well. They're very directly related. So Valkyrie, 238, 42 minutes. That's not bad. It could have been worse. It could have been a little bit better, especially when you take into account that she got a charged hammer, and even let's say you take into account that she got a Thunderclaw. The point of that item, as Taddy was trying to make, although I think it's a crappy item, I'll put my doubts aside for a second. The point of the item is to farm. That's really what the chain lightning is for, really. It's not as much for hero damage, although not to say that it doesn't help. But so she got the item to farm, and then she pretty much got an okay creep score. Like 200 at 40 minutes would have been what you should have had anyways, really, especially when you take into account that Valkyrie has Call of the Valkyrie, so she can farm anyways. Not phenomenally, of course, because it costs some mana and it doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, much like, Dragon's Fire everywhere, or things like that. But she could have farmed anyways. She probably could have gotten that, she was actually, good and trying and farming correctly without the charged hammer anyways. On top of the fact that she wasn't really super active, 4 kills and 5 assists, so she wasn't crazy active when it came to team fights either, so really that's not an acceptable amount when you take into account that she had a Thunderclaw. Moon Queen, also a Thunderclaw, same story. Moon Queen has farm ability already with her, I don't know the name of that skill, but the skill that bounces her attacks, so she really doesn't need the Thunderclaw to begin with. But when you take into account that she got the Thunderclaw, 250 at 42 minutes isn't really that good. It's not terrible, don't get me wrong, neither of these creep scores are bad, okay, but it's just not where you should be when you take into account the items you have and the heroes they are. Demented Shaman, we talked about it. That's a decent creep score. It's actually pretty good. Rally, considering how active you were in the team fight area and the ganking and that kind of stuff, I would say 186 is pretty good. In a normal game, for a carry, 186 isn't really all that decent. But in this game, that you did fine. I mean, considering you were 17 and 9, and I mean, you know, that ultimate on the triple stack yellows, that really brought you up, so gotta have that.
Sorry, I hope you can't hear me eating the cereal.
We can, but I guess we'll...
Okay, I'll mute my mic until you get to items.
Okay. We talked about Glacius. Silhouette, that is way too low of a creep score to have, especially as Silhouette. And you got a Nullstone, so you should have been able to farm... Okay, wow, Nullstone into Assassin Shroud. I'm confused. We'll talk about it when we get to your items. So you had a Nullstone, so you had a Sustainer, presumably, at first, at some point. Let's say in the first 20 minutes... If you got it past 20 minutes, if you got your Sustainer past 20 minutes, that's absolutely unacceptable, and you should not play carry anymore, or go play against bots or something. I don't know what to tell you. So let's assume you had it. I'm going to say by 15 minutes you have to have your Sustainer, okay? But let's say for argument's sake, let's say by 20, just so we can think about it. 20 minutes, you have your Sustainer. It was a 42-minute game, 42 minutes. So you should have been able to farm very significantly higher. And even without the Sustainer, by the way, Silhouette has that passive Death Lotus, which really allows her to farm, on top of the Salvo, too. The Salvo passive helps you farm as well. But really, the Death Lotus, I think, is a bit more useful. It helps you farm the jungle, as well as, you know, lanes, but more so the jungle, so efficiently, it's not even funny. Like, that's one of the reasons why she is a god tier, you know, carry. Her and, you know, there's a couple others, the Dragon's another one, because of their crazy farm ability. And actually, Moon Queen is another one that many people would consider god tier, also because of her farm ability. Oh, I can see it. Multi-Strike was the name of the skill I was thinking of. Forgot it earlier. So that's too low on Silhouette. I wasn't watching. I don't know if you were wasting time or just missing last hits or whatever the case was, but that's not acceptable. Wow, that's actually pretty high for Plague Rider. Maybe Plague Rider was taking your last hits. I don't know. He wasn't in the lane with you, though, so that's not totally relevant. I'm not sure. Maybe he was following you around and taking them. I'm not really sure, but that's kind of high for a Plague Rider. Jeez, 44 denies. Yeah, that's about what I would expect for a Plague Rider. Plague Rider always ends with like 30 plus because of his Extinguish. Big Booty Ho. Interesting name. Okay. Malakin, 211. That's okay. You probably could have done a little bit better than that. I don't know how well or poorly you did in the lane, but it's not bad. It's just not quite where you would like to be. You would usually like to be higher than that. Bushwhack is way too low. I don't know why. Bushwhack can farm pretty well, actually, with his... what's the name of that skill? Splinter Shot. Splinter Shot is actually really good for farming, on top of his ultimate, too. So, really, both of those, I'm not sure why he farms so crappily. Crappily is a new word. I just made that up. It's coined. Make sure you quote me if you use it. Bazooka Tooth. These are some interesting names. Bazooka Tooth as well. You got a hatchet, so you would presume that you would have more. You would be farming, but I mean, you tried to give some of the farm to Silhouette, I guess. So that's fine to have, considering you were kind of. I mean, you weren't really babysitting, but you were kind of attempting at, you know, supporting her in the early game, sort of. So that's okay. Yeah, it's not terrible, I guess. So it's fine. Although you would usually have more. Your items are a bit odd, but we'll talk about it when we get to them. Alrighty, man. You ready for items?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so let's start off with the top. We'll go ahead and start off at Valkyrie. So we have Energizer, Charged Hammer, TP, Steam Boots, Shield Breaker. So Steam Boots, that's fine on Valkyrie. I would actually go Ghost Marchers probably, but that's okay if you get Steam Boots too.
I like Steam Boots, especially if you're going Energizer. Yeah,
sure. Steam Boots are fine. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Steam Boots, Steam Boots are better if you're going Energizer usually, because you don't need the mobility really. I usually
also.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm just.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry for cutting you off, but yeah, you definitely don't need Ghost Marchers because if you go Energizer, using your leap and Energizer afterwards, you give everyone AOE haste.
Oh, is it? Do you actually know that, or is that an estimate?
Yeah, no, I build it on Valkyrie all the time, and it gives me 522.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, then you definitely don't need the Ghost Marchers. So Steam Boots are better. Energizer, totally fine item. I'm fine with that on pretty much any carry, with a few exceptions. There are a couple where it's kind of odd.
I love it on Valkyrie because she's a utility carry as well.
Yeah. And then Shield Breaker we talked about. Shield Breaker's totally fine, especially when your team has. When your team has this much crowd control to begin with, okay? The one item of worry, quote unquote, is the Charged Hammer. So we talked about it in game. Taddy apparently is fine with the Charged Hammer. I would say on certain heroes it can be mildly acceptable. What I will say is on heroes such as Draconis, whose ultimate, it procs on all of the shots on that. That is one hero where I'm okay with it on. I'm happy. I'm totally fine with that. It gives him more attack speed. It gives him more damage. It gives him the proc and the charge lightning over and over. I don't think he doesn't need it for the farm, but the item itself for the hero, the way it's built, works in okay.
It's Thunderclaw is good for ranged carries like Valkyrie and Emerald Warden, which don't have reliable farming abilities. Okay, Valkyrie has her Q, but it's quite mana intensive, so you can't really use that all the time to farm creeps. So I wouldn't upgrade it to charge though, not until my very last item when I've at least got GOs.
Well, what I would say is I'm okay getting the Thunderclaw if you're using it for farm, but then I would kind of get it in the sense of the same way of getting a Rune Cleaver, and that you get you get that item, and then at the end when you have all your other slots filled up, you sell the item and get a better item that's more fitting for team fights or something.
Yeah.
That's fine with me if you want to get a Thunderclaw. Don't spend the extra, what is it, 2,500 or whatever to complete to the charged hammer.
Unless you've got a Legionnaire on your team.
Why would a Legionnaire matter?
Because you use it on him, and then he jumps in and taunts, and then it procs all of the.
All right, I can see that.
Shit.
I can see that mildly, if he gets a good taunt, of course.
Yep.
Okay, but so I actually changed my thinking of charged hammer now because of this conversation. So Thunderclaw as a farm item, I'm okay with from now on, depending on the hero, of course. But then you would sell it, in my opinion. I think you're better off selling it to get a better item, especially since the Thunderclaw itself, $3,000. When you think about farming, really, that's a fairly small investment, especially when you compare it to a Rune Cleaver, although a Rune Cleaver is actually fairly beneficial in team fights, depending on the hero and things like that. But there are better items. But other than that, what I will say is that you have no stats. So I don't really like the fact that you went Shieldbreaker and Charged Hammer without getting anything else. So first of all, I think you definitely needed a Shrunken Head. You probably should have got a Shrunken Head in there. I mean, maybe, I don't actually remember if this was level 1 Shieldbreaker, 2, or 3. Actually, you know what? I remember it had 55 at some point, so I know it was at least 2. If you got it to level 1, that's okay, and then you built the Shrunken and then came back to max it later, that's something, but you didn't, so I don't know. You needed something to keep you alive more. Neither of those items did that, so.
I mean, Valkyrie can be built a number of ways. It's my personal favourite way of building her is to go whatever stats items you want. You can get a power supply if you need it. I get a power supply on pretty much every hero.
Mm-hmm.
Steam boots and energizer certainly, and then I would normally get, if I'm getting really really good farm, I would go for something like a shield breaker just to give me some damage boost. But I will often go Nullfire Blade and Geometer's Bane because it just gives you a lot of usefulness.
Yeah, I love both those. Both of those items on her are great. The Geometer's Bane gives you stats, it gives you damage, attack speed, and it gives you the survivability with the images. Nullfire Blade is awesome sauce, especially since not a lot of people actually think about it, but monetary-wise for the stats, and on top of that, the infinite use of slow because it doesn't have charges when you finish maxing it. It's actually a fairly cost-efficient item, relatively speaking. It's not the best, I don't think, but
fantastic item. The mana burn, the damage from the agility, the slow, and the purge on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you got a slither spray or something like that on you, or just anything, being able to purge that off. And when you have say you have Geometer's Bane, Nullfire Blade, and Geometer's Bane, Nullfire Blade, and Shrunken Head. It's 3 different ways to purge stuff.
Yeah.
And disjoint.
Yeah.
Well, you can't disjoint, but.
Yeah, Geometers doesn't disjoint. And actually, her ultimate doesn't disjoint either, which is very disappointing. But
Geometers does just disjoint.
I'm not 100% on that, but I'll take your word for it for now. I'll take your word for it. But yeah, so the point is that you're too squishy to have that much damage. And really, any hero is too squishy to have that much damage. Maybe there might be 1 or 2, but that's kind of overkill. Moon Queen. Okay, so we talked about. He mentioned your boots in game. I agree. Definitely, Steam boots make the most sense on Moon Queen. What I will say is that maybe I can mildly see some logic behind the Ghost Marchers in the sense that you want to catch up so that you can get in range and attack. But Moon Queen has the highest movement speed in the game at 320 as her base. I think there's only one other hero. I think it's Blood Hunter or something that has the other one. There's only two heroes that have 320. But she's the highest movement speed in the game. She can already get up there pretty quick. So it's not totally necessary to get the Ghost Marchers over Steam Boots. On top of that, stats are awesome on any hero, but especially Moon Queen. She's fairly squishy, so the stats never hurt. And then the attack speed is also awesome sauce as well.
She also got a Soul Scream ring, which is totally unnecessary on Moon Queen.
I wasn't watching. Maybe she had a tough time early on. I would agree it's unnecessary. I'm okay getting, minor stat items like that. If you're doing bad in the lane, it's okay, but based off the fact that she has the highest creep score in the game, I can't imagine she was doing that bad in the lane. So, the Whispering Helm, totally fine. Actually, Whispering Helm's a very, viable item on her. Everybody, I think, most people get that on her. Actually, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's great for farming. And then you were going to build it into a simpler rage because you got the axe, which is great as well.
Yeah.
I dislike the Thunderclaw, and the Savage Mace is fine, but I would have preferred to see a Geo's. I prefer to see stats items. In fact, to be honest, I would never really get a Savage on Moon Queen. She doesn't need it. She's already got enough damage when you get stats items on her, and just the bouncing around with those glaives does so much damage in team fights anyway. So I would have preferred to see, this is my Moon Queen build, I would have preferred to see Steam Boots into Whispering Helm, into Geometer's Bane, into Steam Boots, Whispering Helm, then probably Firebrand, and then Shrunken Head, and then Geometer's Bane, and then you can upgrade to Symbol of Rage, or you can go for a Wingbow, or you can go for a Genjuro, but I would end with all of those items that I've just mentioned.
Yeah, that's actually my exact build as well. The only slight comment I would make is that if they have a lot of magic damage, you can actually get the Shrunken before the Firebrand on Moon Queen. It really doesn't make a huge difference because of her ultimate and Moonbeam. She already has a whole bunch of damage anyways. But yeah, it's totally fine either way. That's my exact build, so I don't have any questions for it. Demented, we went Steam Boots. I wouldn't necessarily say you did that well early on, that Steam Boots over Striders was the best choice, but, it's okay. Then we went, I love the Ring of the Teacher, by the way. I love that item. Love the fact you're carrying a teepee. Love the vestments. Love the Tablet of Command. And
love the eye.
Yeah.
I love the effort just to put in to get an eye. They don't have any invis or anything. Well, they did at the end, but you really didn't really get it for that. But
yeah.
The fact that you got an eye to go around and counter, what a fantastic supporting.
Yeah. What I will say is I probably would have had Rally drop his hatchet and have him carry it just in case. But you didn't die that much, so it's not a huge deal anyways, and you didn't lose it, so it's okay. But just in general, the person who's tanky and probably going to be at the front is usually the one to carry an eye. Not always, but in most cases, I guess.
Rally, no comment other than you needed vestments.
Yeah, I just want to mention one thing about the supporting. Glacius got his after, but 2 tablets is kind of unnecessary in this game. Some games it's okay. This game, it kind of is not really necessary. They don't really have the need for it. I would have probably liked an Astrolabe on one of you, probably Glacius, or, a Cyclone Stick, a Storm Spirit, or, a Void Talisman if you were taking too much damage, or whatever, what I mean?
I would like to see, to be perfectly honest, I would have preferred to see Gnomes and Astro on D-Sham, and then you get the utility items on Glacius, like a Tablet and a Storm Spirit.
Yeah,
that's the way I would have liked to see it set up. But if you're not coordinated, Tablet's never bad. It's good for positioning, especially for Glacius to get in range with his ult. So
yeah, so that's really the only comment I have to make for you, DS. Rally, let's see. Yeah, I don't have any problems with your items at all. The only thing is, vestments probably would have been a worthwhile investment early on. You only died twice in the entire game, so it's not really like you were, taking that much damage anyways, I guess, or weren't positioning yourself stupidly anyways, but just, it's still a worthwhile investment. Yeah, the rest of your items are totally fine. Let's see, Glacius, because we didn't talk about his items earlier, let's briefly go over his. So we mentioned the tablet thing, so I'm not going to bring that up. The vestments should have been gotten much earlier, much earlier. You waited till like 20 or 30 minutes or something to get the vestments, which is extremely odd. You rarely, if ever, would get vestments that late. It doesn't really make any sense. The Strider's totally fine, and the Sackstone is a fine item. I just think more utility would have been better as opposed to that. But
yeah, and more early stats. For example, a power supply.
Yeah, I would have gotten power
into Bracer and then an Astrolabe or something like that. If DS wasn't getting it.
Yeah, that would have been fine. But I mean, Sackstone isn't wrong. It's just probably not the best item. They're the most useful item. Silhouette. So first of all, your boots, they don't really make any sense. You don't need the mobility because you have your True Grapple. The stats
you're not Slicks. You don't need to get Ghost Marchers on Silhouette.
The stats, Slicks is a professional player for anybody who doesn't know. That's an inside joke you won't get if you don't watch Slicks play. Steam boots are just, the stats are awesome, the attack speed's awesome, the damage or health or mana regen or whatever's awesome. It's just a much better item on Silhouette as opposed to the Ghost Marchers. Plus, not to mention, the attack speed from your Steam Boots will help you proc your salvo faster, so it just makes even more sense, and the whole hero just works way better with Steam Boots. There's really no reason to ever get Ghost Marchers on that hero. With that being said...
Slicks.
Yeah, unless you're a professional player who's amazing at the game and can do whatever you want.
And I'll tell you why he does that as well. He does that because he's always solo short against a Suicide, and if you've got Ghost Marchers, you can zone out a Suicide. But if you're not against the Suicide and then you don't make Ghost Marchers, there's no need for it.
Yeah. What I will say, other than that, the minor totems you had from the beginning, so I'm not going to make a comment on that. Your starting items were fine. The TP to have, totally fine. The Nullstone, I think, it's not wrong, but I don't know if I would say it was 100% necessary in this game. They don't really have any amazing single targets. I mean, not to mention that, they had, I guess maybe I don't remember the timing you got this, so maybe you wouldn't know this, but they had 2 tablets on top of that, so it's fairly easy to pop that Nullstone if they even had a single target that they needed to use, but none of Rally's are single targets. Moon Queen has 1. I don't believe it would even block one of her ultimates, Moonglaves. I don't think it worked, or Moonbeams. I don't think it works like that.
No.
Yeah, and Valkyrie doesn't have any.
You don't want to get hit by DS's Q or Glacius's W or Moon Queen's Moonbeam, but they've all got a shorter cooldown than the duration of your Nullstone, so they have so many things to pop it that they can just get rid of it and it will be off cooldown before your Nullstone. It's
not to mention
unnecessary pickup.
The cost of a Nullstone is more than a Shrunken Head, so you could have gotten, and I'm aware that Shrunken Head doesn't give you the regen or the stats that Nullstone does to help you farm, so I'm well aware of that. But a Shrunken Head would have been more beneficial, and then get other stat items like right before that. You could have had the stat items and the Shrunken Head same exact time as your Nullstone, and you would have been better off. So the idea behind that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Also, the Shroud is a very weird item to get as your first item, not your first defense item. I should say it's a very weird item to get on Silhouette. Some heroes can make it work, but Silhouette's not really.
Assassin Shroud is people use it way too much on way too many heroes. It's a niche item that works well on some heroes that it synergizes well with. Genjuro is a fantastic late game item for all agility carries and some other carries.
But the key word in that sentence was late game.
Yeah, you don't get the Assassin Shroud as an early to mid game component. You would get better items in the mid game, and then you build up and build up and build up, and then as your last item you get a Genjuro because it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't go and get the Assassin Shroud early and then build other items and then get the Genjuro. Unless, of course, you're playing one of those heroes where the Assassin Shroud synergizes well in the early game. For example, Arachna or Gladiator or something like that.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is just a thought behind Assassin Shroud. It gives you no stats, and the damage is very minimal when you're not thinking about the activation of it. So farming wise on a carry, it's basically a shit item when it comes to farming. It doesn't help you like at all in comparison to other items. So think about the hero you're playing and what you need to be doing. A lot of the early game for a carry is spent farming. I mean, not that you shouldn't be team fighting at all, but I mean, a lot of it is spent farming, and this item like barely helps you at all. So it's just something to think about. Plague Rider. So we get Ghost Marchers, which is odd. But I mean, then other than that, you don't have any items, but the other two items you have, fine. They're fine. So I think you would have been better off going Striders and then getting like stat items. Like you could have gotten Striders and a Bracer, and and even part of the Astrolabe if that's the route you wanted to go, or something else. I mean, it's just odd. Or even if you wanted to spend to get some big boots, quote unquote big boots, get Steam boots. Then why get Striders? I don't understand the logic behind that. That doesn't really make sense on a support ever. No support should ever get Ghost Marchers. I can't think of one time that would ever be acceptable on a support to get that. That's just weird.
It is weird.
It's I don't know. The quote unquote the rich guy boots for supports are Steam boots, not Ghost Marchers. That's just a bad item. Yeah. I don't know. But the power supply investments, sure, that's fine, cool, man. That's okay. But you didn't have any money to buy any other items, so a bit depressing.
Yeah, I would have. Plague Rider is great to have something like you go power supply investments, whatever boots you're getting, and then Astrolabe, Tablet, just supportive items.
Yeah. Malakin. So
fine.
Well, yeah, they are fine. They are fine. The only thing I would say is that I almost always get, and this is one of the about 2, maybe 3 heroes, I will almost always get an Insanitarius on because the item is phenomenal on that hero.
Yes.
When you pop your ultimate, even when you have Insanitarius on, I think it's 35 HP per second if I'm not wrong. So it's taking away 35 HP per second, but it adds so much damage and attack speed and all that stuff that even if you're in your damage mode with some lifesteal on, although if you're taking much damage, you're worried about the damage, then go in your regen mode. I don't know the name of the life mode. You're healing so much more because of the extra damage and attack speed that it gives you that it's far worth it. Very far worth it. And it's not even an expensive item either. Was it 28, something like that? 27.50. That's not really an expensive item either. So it's very worth it on Malakin. I will pretty much every single game get one on him.
I would get it before Rift Shards, then I would get Rift Shards. But
yeah. I will usually go. I always go Steam Boots into Whispering Helm on Malakin. That is every game. There's really no reason not to. What I will say though is, by the way, Malakin, you weren't using that Whispering Helm, and I'm pretty sure Moon Queen wasn't either using the Whispering Helm to stack Ancients. So that's the reasoning behind getting the Whispering Helm. I mean, obviously this Symbol of Rage and the Lifesteal and that stuff's helpful too, but I mean, that's one of the main reasons for the item, so just for future reference, try and do that. But yeah, so I always go Steam Boots into Whispering Helm, then Vestments if they're necessary, and in this game, Vestments were necessary, so you might have sold them, I'm not sure, that's okay if you did, once you got the Shrunken. But Vestments would be after that in this game, and then after that, in this game, I probably would have gone Shrunken directly after that, because of how much magic damage they have, and then into Insanitarius, then into Rift Shards. Some games you can get the Insanitarius before Shrunken. It depends on what the enemy team is like and things like that. But in this game, you definitely needed the Shrunken before the Insanitarius. But other than that, your items are totally fine. That would have been the exact items I got. I just would have had an Insanitarius thrown in there too. So just something to think about. Bushwhack. So first of all, Energizer, awesome. We've talked about it before, and I'm going to mention it, so don't worry. We've talked about it before. Energizer and Ghost Marchers don't really make sense on almost any hero, actually. It's a lot of movement speed. You don't need it, really. It's just kind of weird.
It's already a pretty mobile hero as well.
Yeah, what's the sidestep cooldown, like 6 seconds or something at level 4? Yeah, 6 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's really, you don't really need both. I usually... Well, you know what? I will almost always go Energizer, but I'll get Steam Boots instead of Ghost Marchers because the Steam Boots help him a lot too. Steam Boots are a pretty nice item to have on him when you have the Energizer, or vice versa. If you don't want to go with Energizer, fine, get Ghost Marchers, but then skip the Energizer and get something else. Then we have a Firebrand, which it looks like you're building a Frostburn based on the strength bracelet, the bolstering armband. That's fine. Frostburn's okay. I mean, you know what? Actually, that's fine on him. I like Frostburn on him. I probably go Frostburn as my first major item too, in most games. No vestments though is a bit alarming. You don't have vestments. You really need vestments. Anytime there's a Moon Queen, it's pretty much always vestments, or even a Glacius. Maybe not necessarily a Valkyrie or a DS, maybe, but definitely Glacius or Moon Queen. They have enough magic damage to warrant vestments. So, just a thought there. Other than that, I don't really have many other comments to say about your items. Your items are pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that's fine.
With the exception of the Boots Energizer combo thing. I will say your farm was pretty crappy. I wasn't watching you, so I don't know if you got like beat the shit in lane or something, but I mean, you died a lot. For a hero that got both of those, all that mobility, you died 10 times the most out of anybody in the game. I don't know what the deal was. I imagine it had to do with your map awareness and positioning, and you just got caught out by a rally and then ulted and killed, would be my guess. But that's just a guess. Prisoner. So I haven't played Prisoner yet, so I can't really speak to it too much. But what I will say is Insanitarius and Elder Parasite kind of seems like a weird combination on almost any hero, I would think. That's...
Ooh, I disagree.
Really?
I love it. Have you tried it on Hammerstorm? Have you tried it on Predator? Just ridiculous.
Well, okay, all right. Well, I'll take your word for it then. Maybe I can't speak for Prisoner 945 then. I'll leave it up to you guys, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, to be honest, I've not played the hero, and I've not really thought about how I would build the hero, but a portal key and a helm and some general tankiness items seem good. Maybe a Hellflower for he's an initiation hero.
Well, I can tell you how I would build the hero if I were to play it. My first game, I would almost definitely do Steam Boots, probably because he seems like you need the health, be tanky. You're going to be in there fighting. The next thing I would probably do is in this game vestments. You need that. But then also you do want a portal key because of the way his ultimate works. It's like I mean, I don't want to reference League of Legends, so I'm going to leave out that. But you have to be around them, and you want to jump in. It's kind of like a Tempest ult in the sense that when you activate it, you need to be around heroes, but you want to kind of stay with them too, so that they don't get away from the chains before it pops. And I think it's like a 2-second cooldown or delay. I mean, 3 seconds. 3 second. No, sorry. 3 second delay. Yeah, okay. 3 second delay. So you kind of need to stay with them. I do believe it applies to slow though, if I'm not mistaken. No. Okay. Interesting. All right. So no slow, but I mean, you want the portal key to jump in and pop the ultimate. Okay. So that would be my logic there. Then I'd probably get a Shrunken at some point if necessary, and then after that, or maybe even before the Shrunken, Soul's Bulwark, Helm of the Black Legion. Helm might even be before Portal Key. Actually, I might do that before. I would probably do that before Portal Key. Then Soul's Bulwark. Then you can go off a couple of ways. You can get Frostfield Plate if you need the tanky and crowd control. You can get a Hellflower if you need the Perplex and Silence and that kind of stuff. Although to be honest with you, that Perplex, Silence plus 20% damage is pretty much awesome in any game. Then you can go, Demonic Breastplate, all kinds of things, Behemoth's Heart, really whatever you need. But I don't think I would go Insanitarius Elder Parasite on him. He doesn't really have...
I would... You just build him as a standard tanky initiator with tanky items, Helm, Portal Key, vestments, and then maybe Demonic and...
Yeah, I don't know how mana hungry he is, so I'm not going to comment on the Blood Chalice. Maybe the Blood Chalice is a fine item.
Yeah, it is necessary. I've one of my clanmates has played the hero quite a lot with me. We played it with NG, and it's it's those ults together. It's dumb.
I can tell you one thing. I've played against him mid a couple times now, and it is the most annoying thing ever when it gets nighttime and you can't see up the hill, and he just hooks you into his tower because it goes over creeps and he can do whatever the hell he wants. It's really, really, really annoying. It's so incredibly stupid. They really need to nerf the range on that grab or something. It's too good. It's a Devourer hook, but better. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it also... It deals a slow as well.
Does it?
Yeah.
That's even worse. 80% tapering slow. Okay, for 1 second. That's not a crazy deal. I will say it does a little bit less damage than Devourer's Hook, but really, I mean, Who cares? Like, I mean,
It's AoE.
yeah,
It goes through creeps.
that's stupid that it does all that. That's stupidly strong. They need to nerf that. That's the one real problem I have with the hero. I think if they just nerfed the range down to like, 600-700 maybe, then it would be fine. It wouldn't be as big of a deal because you could see him. You'd be able to see him using it and stuff. The fact that it's 1,000 and he can do it from across the lane is retarded. They need to fix that. But other than that, I haven't played the hero. I played against him, so he's a bit annoying to play against. But I don't know.
If you play the hero, play him with engineer. It's ridiculous. The ult combination just means that if they run out, then they're screwed because they have to run through the NG ult, and if they don't, then they're screwed because they take a 3-second stun and another 300 physical damage.
Yeah.
And especially if you pair him with bubbles as well.
Yeah. Pretty much any hero that has an ultimate that restricts movement. The one thing I will say is that it's not necessarily wrong with a Tempest, just that, I mean, I don't know. It's fine with Tempest too, I guess. It's just that theoretically, the ultimate is kind of on the sense that it will, cause people to run away from each other and, try and get away from you in a sense. So if you're restricting their movement, I feel like you're kind of gimping the ultimate in a sense. I don't know. It's not a huge deal. Like it'd be like ulting and then throwing a Dark Lady ultimate on top, kind of. You know what I mean? Like a Tempest ult and then Dark Lady ult. You're kind of like gimping. I mean, it's not the same. I will say it's not the same because Dark Lady ult does no damage and stuff like that. But I don't know.
If you time it correctly though, because Tempest ult is what, 4 seconds?
Yeah. If you use it like directly after, or if you use it like mid and then it pulls them back in directly after the Tempest ult, then I could see it. If you're chaining it correctly and things like that, it just feels a bit kind of like you're taking one of the aspects out of the ultimate when you use it with heroes that are already stunned. You know what I mean? Mm. But maybe that's just my thought. I'm sure it wouldn't really make a huge difference either way. So just something to think about, kiddies. With that, though, thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, Takkun1991, or anybody for that matter, feel free to post the comments section, inbox, the whole drill, anywhere you want. And I will get back to them. Or if you have a question for Taddy, I'll pass it along to him. Don't worry about it. So once again, thank you for watching. And feel free to keep submitting replays, by the way. I know we have a bit of a line. We are getting to them over time, I guess. But hopefully at some point we'll have them all done. I think we have like 3 or 4 more to do. And of course, they're all like hour-long games. So keep that in mind. We don't really get to do, 3 or 4 of them in a day or something like that because we have other schedules. But we'll get to them eventually. So feel free to keep submitting them. And thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. GG, well played, guys. Elfis out.